Welcome to Product Marketing Alliance. We're home to everything a product marketer needs to learn, share, and succeed in their role. The definitive product marketing course, Product Marketing Core, is the perfect platform for experienced product marketers to broaden their existing knowledge, as well as educate newcomers beginning with their product marketing journey. A comprehensive course spanning 11 modules. Each section takes an in-depth look into the core elements of the industry. Our community. We're home to more than 10,000 product marketers across the world. And every single day, tons of product marketing specific conversations go down. In the words of one of our members, Madeline Turner, the community hasn't just been an absolute wealth of knowledge and answers, it's the place for constant inspiration. With a PMA membership plan, everything a product marketer could possibly need is all in there, all in one place. Whether you want to grab a template to start using right away, learn about how to become more strategic from product marketers who've mastered it, sit back and watch hundreds of hours of presentations from some of the world's most trusted brands, our packages have got it all and more. We really are, dare we say it, the one-stop shop.
My name is Daniel Murphy. I am the Director of Marketing at Privy. Before joining Privy just a few months ago, I was at a company called Drift, which I hope many of you have heard of. I was the Director of Product Marketing there. I'll go into my bio in a little bit more detail in just a second, but I first wanted to start with the topic, which is obviously why you are listening in and watching this presentation today. So I want to talk about the 3 stages of product marketing and why your product marketing work must change at each of those stages. So I actually gave a similar talk last year about this overall topic. Really, it's about product marketing, right? And why we exist and what we do. But I gave it last year at the SaaS Breakthrough Summit. That was, December 2019. And I had actually kind of had a frustrating year, the year 2019. Not quite as frustrating as we are all feeling in 2020, I'll tell you that. But personally, and from a career standpoint, I was feeling kind of frustrated because I was in charge of scaling the product marketing org at Drift, but we kept running into roadblocks. We ran into roadblock after roadblock, and it really was based around rationalizing what we do, right? That was our issue, and trying to rationalize the investment in product marketing to hire more and to invest more in programs and stuff like that. So I actually ended up spending a good chunk of my time researching product marketing. I went and studied a bunch of role model companies, and I actually got to interview about a dozen product marketing leaders, which was amazing. And I got to hear from them about how they have their team set up and what they're focused on, metrics in a bunch of different areas. So by the end of 2019, I had this really cool, this really cool year of learning. And then I had this opportunity to get in front of the SaaS Breakthrough audience. And I gave a presentation called, "What Does Product Marketing Actually Do?" Which is kind of like my thesis presentation, and kind of led into this presentation. So anyways, a little background on me. So, you know, I'm giving it to you straight, and I'm not totally coming out of left field. So I started my career at HubSpot. I was on the product marketing team there. The company was in growth stage at that point. So they're about 3 years away from an IPO when I left. And then when I did leave, I went to a really small startup. It was called Onshape. I was the first marketer there, and we grew the company with a freemium model from beta launch to about 30,000 signups a month by the time I left, which was pretty amazing. We did that in about 15 months. So really got to see like the pre-launch, beta phase, and engineering phase, and all the way through a pretty big sales funnel. So when I left Onshape, I was actually a customer of Drift at the time. This is way back in 2017. It's kind of funny to say way back 2017. But I left because I was a customer and I really liked the product, and I really felt like this was going to be a big hit and I wanted to be part of it. And I got to take a product marketing role at Drift, which was really exciting because while at Onshape, I was there for almost 4 years. I had done like every role in marketing, but the one area I hadn't spent a lot of time was product marketing. And I think we had a really successful product marketing motion at Onshape. It just wasn't thanks to me. It was other people on my team who were really strong. So I was really excited to dive in and do product marketing at Drift. When I joined, it was pretty early stage. They were about to grow really fast. But it was still early. It was about 3 people on the team. When I did join, we scaled the team, not right away, but over the 2.5 years I was there, we scaled it from 3 to about 30 marketers. And we grew revenue literally 10x in the time I was there. So tens of millions of dollars. It was amazing, amazing journey. I'm really, really proud of the work we did there. And I got to learn a lot in just 2.5 years. And then most recently I joined Privy. We're a small startup. We're in the e-commerce space. Basically we're an e-commerce marketing platform. We help small businesses convert traffic on their website, email their customers, text their customers, basically help them make additional sales with their online store. But we also have a big freemium funnel, and I oversee brand, content, and product marketing here at Privy. These are my two social channels where I'm usually sharing insights. I mean, I think, especially nowadays as marketers, we have to share as much as possible. And so both my Twitter and my LinkedIn, my Twitter at _Daniel J. Murphy. If you want to follow me, feel free to shoot me a question on there if you want. This presentation isn't live. It was recorded a couple of days prior to the event, but feel free to do that or send me a connection on LinkedIn. Just look up Daniel J. Murphy. Check those out. Please follow or connect, and happy to chat with you one-on-one. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about my experience at Drift. Pretty amazing. I mean, honestly, it was a career changer for me for sure. But most of the time there I was leading the product marketing team. So I led it from early stage to the multi-product stage, which is, the presentation. I'll talk about those stages in a minute. And we saw 10x growth, like I mentioned. It was pretty amazing to see, go from selling one product to 4 products. By the end, we were supporting probably more than 60 sales reps. We had a customer team of about 30, I want to say. Probably well over 90, on the product team between product management and engineering and designers and a bunch of other areas. And we actually had 2 different product acquisitions during my tenure there. So we acquired 2 different companies and acquired their products along with them and integrated them into both our stack and to our marketing. And like I said, we struggled to advocate for the need of product marketing. This was my first time going through this journey, and I was in charge of leading the product marketing team through this journey. And so that ended up with me doing a ton of research to try to understand, what product marketing should be, what we should be focused on, what are our metrics, and so I spent a lot of time, like I said, in 2019. Ironically enough, giving this presentation today. One of the places I looked and found the most useful was the State of Product Marketing report that came out in 2019 from the Product Marketing Alliance. So huge shout out to them. I don't think I said this yet, but thank you for having me as part of this festival. I'm honored. I'm really excited. And thank you very much for all of the useful tips and tricks. I know I've thanked them directly a lot, but I mean, it's been incredibly helpful. Reports like this really make it easier. So I actually use a lot of the data in this report to advocate for my team, come up with a framework of investment, how we were going to grow the team, and actually use a lot of the data in my presentation last year, the one I referenced at the beginning. But really quickly, let me review some of that data so that we're all on the same page. So they went and they surveyed, I think it was like 609 product marketers from some really, really, really great companies. In fact, a lot of these companies are the same product marketing leaders. I interviewed them personally to get some insights, and then having seen this report and knowing all of them participated in it really just validated that this was going to be really good data. So in it, there was a couple things that came out that were really obvious, and 2 things I want to talk about were first, the number one frustration product marketers expressed was a lack of understanding around the product marketer role and the responsibility. So the number one frustration that product marketers have is that people don't understand them. They don't get them. They don't understand what they do. And the other one was that I thought was really interesting was the number one piece of advice that those product marketers have was to get clear on defining the role for product marketers. And the role should be more strategic and less tactical. So that's really interesting, right? Like, it's not shocking, right? From this to, the number one frustration, no one gets us. And the number one piece of advice is explain, what we do. But the second half of this is really interesting. The role should be more strategic and less tactical. And I thought that was really interesting. One of the best definitions I've ever read about product marketing comes from a blog post from Jeff Gadway in the Marketo blog. And he wrote this about really like why a high performing product marketing team is so key to your growth. And in it, he has this definition. He says, the job of product marketing is to know the customer, know the magic, and connect the two. And I love that. I think that's so true. I think like if you think about it, all the things we do in product marketing, it's hard to classify all these things sometimes, all these activities, and the fact that it always feels like our role is changing everything. But no matter what, this definition is true, right? Like you got to understand your customer, why they're coming to you, why they're coming to your product, and what is the magic that connects them. Anyways, or the magic of your product that connects them is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, so I feel like this is like going back to that statement from or the survey result, which says, it should be more strategic and less tactical. I feel like a lot of product marketing orgs that I've spoken with, and I've been there too, fall for this trap where they think, it's function or knowledge, like, and they just struggle with this, right? And so the way I would think about it is like, the product marketing is not a function first team. Like it's not like demand generation, or actually even better is sales, right? Like sales is a function. They call or they meet and they sell and they have a clear metric, which is revenue, right? Like that's a function first job. Product marketing is not. It should be a knowledge first organization. Really what you want with growing your product marketing organization is to become a knowledge center. And so speaking of KPIs, what KPIs are you responsible for? So actually in my presentation last year, I polled people and I asked for some data, but the Product Marketing Alliance team in their survey, they asked this question as well. And the results were pretty interesting. The top 3 product marketing KPIs were 58% of the respondents said generating revenue, 44% of them said increasing MQLs, 42% of them said retaining customers. Very interesting, right? For a couple of reasons. One, the first of all, is those are 3 very different things, right? Like the first one, you would say that's what the sales team does. And the sales team is usually one credited most with that. The second one is what the marketing team does, right? Okay, maybe that kind of feels a little bit more right because the product marketing is part of the marketing team, right? Retaining customers, that's a customer success or maybe a support goal, right? Or maybe it's a product goal. So the first observation is like, wow, like product marketing, their goals are splintered, right? Like their focus and what they're trying to drive is splintered across 3 radically different teams, right? But the other thing is that look at the numbers, right? Like 58%, 44%, 42%, like the number, like there's no consensus, right, in this survey of where the most product marketers spend their time, right? 60% of them generating revenue, but they're also increasing MQLs, they're also retaining customers. Obviously, that doesn't add up to 100%, 58 plus 44 plus 42, right? They're splitting their time and they're focusing in different areas, right? Which is a huge part of the frustration and the confusion around the role. A couple years ago, Dave Gerhardt from the Drift team, he's actually our CMO at Privy now, he wrote this blog post about what is product marketing. And he says, and this is just really great visual, which is just that like product marketing sits in like this Venn diagram, I think this is called a triple Venn diagram. I don't know, maybe that's wrong. But it sits between product marketing and sales. I would say too, the other part we're missing here is customer success, right? Maybe that's kind of bucketed with sales because it's kind of a similar thing, but it sits between like customer success, sales, product, and marketing. And when I say sits, meaning we're working with each of those teams on a daily basis, right? When we're driving results that each of these teams is traditionally in charge of driving. So that's where I came with these 3 stages, and that's what I want to talk through today in a little bit more depth. Basically, as your company grows, your product marketing team is moving from is becoming more of a knowledge center and less of a function-based team. They're moving away from just doing functional work and towards becoming more of a knowledge center. And it's on a 100% or like a 180. It doesn't like go from one end to the other, and it's like they're not doing any function-based work anymore. But over the course of time, they become more of a knowledge center. And I want to talk a little bit more about each of these stages. So the first stage is the early stage company, right? So these match the size of the company, early stage company. And the focus there for product marketing is really more function-based work, right? Launches, creating product content, product education, stuff like that. The goal of this early stage, product marketing is finding the product market fit. So that's obviously the goal of the company too, right? Like product marketing is probably tip of the spear, or near the tip of the spear, right? They're part of the team, but they're doing this function-based work, and by doing it, they're trying to help the company find product market fit. Because ultimately, for an early stage company, the number one thing is you got to go find product market fit. You got to make sure your product fits with your market. You understand why it fits. So by doing function-based work, you're actually going to learn a lot. So the second stage is growth stage company. That's more customer based. And there's a lot more work on messaging, on identifying product success, working on positioning, doing enablement across a couple of different teams. And this is really more about finding feature and customer fit. So like now that we've got product market fit, we understand what market, we understand that magic, right? Why it matches the market. And then finding the next stage in this growth stage, you're finding feature fit. So now you're digging in a little bit more. You're trying to understand better, what features your customers are using, why they love those features. Most companies are not, or most customers are not going to be using all your features, right? So like digging in there is really important. And then there's a multi-product company, right? That's the third stage. And in that stage is more product-based, right? So you might be focusing on the multi-product story. That's an important part. You might be doing things like solutions marketing, right? There's investments you can make there. You might be, experimenting with verticals and finding, different. The whole goal here is finding different products and segments and how they fit. So let's go into a little bit more depth of each of these. So stage number one, early stage product marketing. What does that look like? So the goal here, like I said, is about finding product market fit. Your company is probably small and you probably have limited resources, especially in marketing, right? When in those early days, the team's not going to be investing in marketing until they figure out how they can rationalize that investment, right? So if there is product marketing on the team, you're probably the sole product marketer, and you're probably, a pretty small team most likely, right? So product marketing really has to be function-based. You have to be doing something. There has to be an output. An obvious output of your work. And usually that varies. It's maybe MQLs, it's maybe project-based work, but it has to be more function-based. We'll talk about some of the areas of focus in a second. The function-based work is good though, right? So by doing this and by owning certain functions within the marketing team, you're actually going to learn a lot faster, right? And that's the whole goal here. Like if you're starting out, we're moving from left to right, we're moving from being a function-based team to a knowledge center, by investing in function-based work, by doing launches, by doing these other activities, you're actually going to learn a lot faster. So it's good. It's not like it's a bad thing. And then, like I said, you're probably going to run product launches. You're going to write case studies. You're going to do product content, do a bunch of training. This is how you create a tight feedback loop with your early adopters. By doing these things, these activities, you're going to create that tight feedback loop so that, the early adopters that are betting on you, that are investing, that are trying your product, you're learning from them as fast as possible. So let's just dive in a little bit deeper into the areas of focus. So I mentioned product launches. This is something I try monthly, right? At Drift, we were doing a launch every single month. We were putting a ton of marketing momentum behind it. And it was great because we would launch something and we were definitely launching to those and selling to those early adopters. And we had that tight feedback loop. So launching monthly was great. It kept our audience engaged. It kept reminding them about our product, how to use it. It kept us growing in the market because every time we launched something and our audience interacted with it, they had 3 or 4 other friends that noticed it and would come in and try our product. Another area for focus is early customer proof, right? And that's so important. Case studies in the traditional sense, sure, right? Those things are helpful. I mean, I would say it's really just storytelling. It could be a blog post. It could be, before you invest in some, mega process or, area of your website dedicated to case studies. But it can also be a lot easier, right? Tweets, emails, quotes, logos, right? Like, especially if you're a company where you're selling to, mid-market or enterprise, and like you can validate with some really cool logos, some recognizable logos, and put those on your website. Like that's worth getting that early customer proof to show other early adopters that, who's using your product and to validate it. Video is another great idea. Calling up a customer, recording a Zoom call. Those are all great areas of investment to gather early customer proof. In terms of product content, use cases, integrations, solutions, YouTube, webinars. So this runs the gamut. I mean, those are just a couple things, right? So, talking about specific use cases, at Privy, we just launched a new tool that helps you cross-sell. So I did a video on cross-sell. I'm actually doing a webinar on cross-sell. I put a video on YouTube about it. We did, a blog post about it. We worked on a help doc, right? Like, so creating all that paper trail of content specific to use cases that we know to be valuable. Like when we launched this cross-sell feature in Privy, it was instantly validated as something our customers really, really wanted by the amount of email responses we got when we emailed that out. People sharing our blog post, people commenting on our video, people joining our webinar and asking us questions. Like, it was very, very obvious quickly that was a hit, and that was like part of that tight feedback loop that we needed. Integrations, I mean, it depends on the company, but integrations could be a huge lever of growth for your company. So doing videos about integrations, working with partner organizations that you do integrate with, working with them on partner marketing, that stuff can be really interesting and helpful. Solutions, kind of similar to use cases, YouTube webinars, so just different channels that you can produce your content on. Product story. So I think having a really tight deck and a video pitch is really going to help get everybody singing the same tune in your company. So sales, obviously really important, but maybe your partner team, maybe your customer success team, maybe your support team, maybe your management team, right? I would create a short, 2-3 minute, video with a deck that kind of explains like, what is the product pitch? Why, what problem are you solving? That's a great area of investment for that, to help you you're ultimately trying to find product market fit in this stage. And so that's a good area of focus for the function-based work. Competitive intel, right? Having a resource, I would say just some basic objection handling for the sales team. I wouldn't get complex. I wouldn't do much more than like a one pager and a video, and just make sure that you're, whatever the messaging is, that core messaging that you have organized, that you share it over and over and over again with your sales team. When it's early on, it's easy to do. It's easy to just share that stuff once and have, a team of 10 to 20 sales reps know where it is and just be sharing it constantly. But you have that one source. I would just have the basic messaging down and make sure that exists, and then move on, right? And as you grow, we'll talk about competitive intel in the other stages. Okay, so now let's talk about stage number 2, which is the growth stage in product marketing. So now your company is bigger. It's established with teams that actually own, functions like customer relationships, demand generation, sales, product development, right? So maybe you've hired some CS people, maybe you have a demand gen marketer now, the sales team's cranking, you have some product development process in place and a team around that. So now the company's bigger. And so, instead of product marketing, producing its own stuff, now you're, producing its own stuff or doing more function-based work, now you're probably transitioning to enabling the rest of the organization, right? And there's a lot of enablement with sales, with your customer success team, with the rest of the marketing team, and with the product team that you can be doing. And you're probably spending even more time talking to customers, testing messaging within the org, and training other teams. So, a good example is we had a tool called Gong that we used at Drift. It was really helpful for us because what it does is it records all sales and customer success calls. So everything's automatically is recorded. And it gives us a big library in a library we can search for keywords and stuff that were spoken on the calls, which is extremely powerful to product marketers because now we can go in, we can research features, we can research different segments, it connects with Salesforce. So we can actually look at, highly, precise lists of customers that we want to know more about. So it was really, really helpful for us to be able to dig in and understand our customers better. We spent a lot of our time. In fact, our team, I think, listened to more calls on Gong than basically any other team, which was pretty awesome. So, doing that, you can test out a lot of messaging. You can train your teams on it, and then with something like Gong, you can actually go back and make sure they were talking about the right stuff, and you can understand how your customers reacted. You can also understand how your own team did the training. Did they talk about it the right way? You can go coach them after. It's really, really powerful for something like that. So now, just to note, right, like now we're talking about being a little bit less function, a little bit less doing stuff or tactical, I guess. And now you're being a little bit more strategic. You're spending more of your time becoming a knowledge center. You're spending more of your time researching and understanding your customers and your market. So in that journey, right, we're kind of moving towards knowledge center. Okay, areas of focus for this segment. So customer success enablement. Excuse me. We spent a lot of time. In fact, the product marketing team spent about a month and a half where we paused a lot of the other things we were doing, and we went really deep with our customer success team. We each took on, a small book of business, like customers that we had to onboard and make successful and work with them. And we did that because we wanted to help, create new onboarding decks, create a new experience for customers, do business reviews. We actually partnered with the CS team. We did that, which was amazing. And also, you might want to do industry or market training at this segment. This is where you do your, new feature training as well. Like you'd be going, if you're launching something new, especially every month, this is where you sit down with your CS team and you train them. Another area of focus in this stage would be product messaging. So again, the Gong was huge for us and researching customer feedback and understanding some of the market trends. But the testing messaging, messaging is probably one of the biggest areas of focus during this stage. It's so important to get right and to test and understand, and it can have a huge impact on your growth. Another area, product tours. So telling your story on your website, right? Like sounds simple, but you can spend a lot of time there. There's a lot of different ways of doing that. There's pages, there's videos, there's interactive, there's infographics, right? There's so many different ways. So I think investing in, making sure that really what should be your number one sales rep, which is your website, making sure that number one sales rep is precision perfect, trying out new messaging, building out more content, and telling that product story. Sales enablement, so training your team, developing a product marketing SLA. So, whatever you might know about marketing and sales SLAs, they're usually focused on demand gen, right? You should have a product marketing SLA, right? Like develop a agreement with the team, probably the sales leadership team, about, how you're going to deliver competitive intel, or how often you're going to do case studies, or, other things like that, you can kind of come to agreement, or, maybe the sales team owes you, once a month feedback or sharing a call or something like that. But you should have an agreement with them. It shouldn't be just a demand gen thing. Product marketing should have an SLA with sales too. And then you're also, obviously sharing a lot of intel at this stage, probably with your sales team. I'm imagining your sales team's growing. That's what happened with us. Probably doubling or tripling in this phase. So, if not more. So like the other part of intel is not just being able to create it and find that intel, whether it's competitive or market or something else. It's also about the distribution. You should spend and invest in the distribution of that intel within your sales organization. So that means partnering with them, figuring out, where things are going to be. Is it just going to be Slack? Is it going to be Wiki? Are you going to invest in, sales enablement software? Because there's a bunch of, things you can do there. So figuring out what that looks like and what kind of investment you need, that should be another, like the distribution should be a huge part, not just gathering the intel and composing it, the distribution of it and how people are going to access it. And this ties into the SLA is really, really important in the growth stage for product marketing. And then market and analysis proof. So usually this is called like analyst relations or something, but ultimately what this is about is it's investing, time, or probably the combination of time and money into third-party or expert validation. So there's the analysts out there, of course. There's also third-party reviews, something like G2 Crowd. Investing in those areas to build up either category recognition or market leadership. Like that's another area of focus for product marketing in this stage. Okay, then start stage number 3. So the multi-product marketing stage. And I just want to pause and say, the great thing about Drift, I think I mentioned this before, was that we went through this crazy growth, and I actually got to see sort of the tail end of the early stage experience. I got to see the growth stage experience, and then we were really early. We were kind of early for our company stage. We were early, but we transitioned to the multi-product stage. We ended up having 4 products that we were selling towards the end of my tenure there, and so I got to see each of these stages and when you grow really, really fast, you get to see them in a really quick transitions. So this was a really cool experience for me personally. Let's talk about it. So finding product and markets. Finding product segment fit. We've kind of evolved there from finding product market fit to feature and customer fit. Now we're talking about the products and the segments, right? So now the company is big, it's established, it has process, it has ownership. You're probably introducing new products to the market. That's super exciting. Product marketing must focus on being able to tell the product marketing, I'm getting excited here, and I think I need a drink of water, but I don't have one in front of me. Product marketing must focus on being able to tell the multi-product story or each of the products' individual stories, right? So like being able to tell the story. Remember, initially in that early stage, you might have that pitch deck, and we might have that, the product story. Well, now you have multiple products, right? If they work together and they should be cohesive, telling the multi-product story is not like you just put together a deck and you ship it and everyone like. There is tons of teams to enable. There's tons of research. There's a bunch of, now you're a big player. It needs to be done on a different level. So there's a lot of investment you can do into telling that story, or making sure that each of the individual products have their own story and all their own positioning and feature breakdown, all that stuff within each. That's a huge investment right there. And I think bundled into the story is pricing too, right? At this stage, a lot of product marketing teams will be heavily involved in pricing and packaging. And so at this stage in telling the story, I would bucket pricing and packaging as part of that. And then also focusing on new market or segment penetration, right? So now that, this is kind of like almost going full circle, and now you're back to like that early stage where you're trying to find product market fit. Well, now you have new products. And so now you got to understand, does your existing segments, like this new product? Are they the right fit for it? What is the positioning for them? How do you use those two products together? How do you use them individually? Is it a new segment? Is it a new vertical? Are we trying a new industry? Like these are the different, questions you have to answer in this stage, really focusing on, penetrating the new markets and the new segments. And there's a lot of research and understanding you got to do. Now you're creating hopefully really tight feedback loops with your executive team, for instance. So the areas of focus here are the multi-product story. So I mentioned that before, why each product is uniquely suited to provide value and why even better together. So if they are better together, why? So solutions marketing, that's another area that I think is probably really interesting. One of the product marketing leaders I interviewed a couple months ago, a year ago for kind of understanding product marketing. He was at a really fast growing B2B enterprise company, and he set up, I think they actually called them segment marketers, but they were part of the product marketing team. And the segment marketers, they sat with different sales organizations. So they sat with their mid-market and their enterprise teams. And they basically were sort of just like, they just chopped down roadblocks all day long, right? So, product marketing, like you could be focused on a new product launch, you're getting domain expertise. Well, what happens when you get really big is that the sales team or CS team keep bringing up, hey, we need to do this thing, or we need to do that thing, right? Or, hey, this thing just came up, or this competitive intel thing, right? What this VP of product marketing did was he basically broke it down and said, okay, segment marketers, go sit with the sales team. You guys go, anything that comes up on a regular basis, you guys go do that. And product marketers are more specific to the product. They have domain expert or product expertise. And then together, right, bubbled up in the product marketing organization. That was really powerful. That really helped them with the feedback loops and really helped, the product marketing team invest their time wisely. Customer and market insights. So creating fast loops. This is when you're becoming more of a knowledge center, right? You're creating those fast feedback loops between your customers and the market to your executive team. And that might be regular cadence of meetings, might be videos, might be a wiki, might be sharing insights, might be sharing gong calls or customer calls. But now you need to be sharing those insights on a regular basis to your executive team. And then company enablement across all departments, because almost every department, basically, even the back office, needs some enablement when it comes to the product and the distribution of all that information and positioning, right? And so this is where we talk a lot about like enable the enablers is what we would say at Drift, where it's like you're actually going to train the sales enablement team because they're going to go train the sales reps, right? Or the customer success enablement team, you go train them so that they can go enable the customer success team. Now you're like two levels away. So you either partner with them on some level and you work together on training, or you train them and you get it out. But now it's just a whole different ball game. It's a bigger organization, more process in place, and you got to adapt your product marketing at that point. Okay, I've talked a lot. That's a lot of information. Again, this is recorded prior to the presentation, so I'm hoping I'll be available when this goes live, and hopefully right now. You're asking me questions. Maybe I'm even responding to questions already, which would be kind of trippy. But I'd love to hear your questions. Look, if not, if there's not a way for me to answer your questions live, feel free to hit me up. Like again, Twitter is @_ Daniel J. Murphy. Feel free to tweet at me or DM me there, or just jump on LinkedIn, give me a shout. Happy to connect with you. Just let me know. Don't be one of those people that sends a LinkedIn request and doesn't say give any context, because I get a lot of them and I just don't know what to do with them sometimes. I'll always prioritize and respond. If you shoot me a note with your invite, I'd be happy to chat with you, provide any answers to any questions you have. Otherwise, hope you have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the festival, and hope to connect with you soon. Thanks.